Hey everybody, welcome back to the Badgerland Birding Podcast, bringing you birding news and stories from the Badger State and beyond. Today we're with Jeff and Otys Train. Jeff goes by Mr. Train on social media, teaching about some birding and some life lessons. So we're going to talk a little bit about birding in New Jersey. We got to do some birding with them in New Jersey and New York and some other cool stuff. Otys recently got back from Puerto Rico. So I want to start out just by hearing about your trip because that's a place on our list that we definitely want to check out in the future.
Yeah, I got to see some really cool birds and meet some really cool people and go to some cool places. And I got to practice my Spanish.
Is your Spanish good?
Yeah, I go to a dual language charter school, and
I
I've
think he
been.
was setting you up to answer it in Spanish and you just dropped the ball and answered in English. But hey, whatever.
We prepped that ahead of time.
um, yo he hablado español para 9 años y cuando fui a Puerto Rico tenía la oportunidad de hablar mucho en español.
So wait, I don't actually speak Spanish, but I think he said he's been speaking for, is it 9 years?
No.
Yeah, 9.
9 years, and you got an opportunity to speak it a lot when you were in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Boom.
Hey, you can go to Puerto Rico now.
Well done. Muy bien.
Funny enough, I actually have a friend who I work with who's from Puerto Rico. So every time I see him, we talk a little bit about it because he's here on a tennis scholarship. I don't even know if he's on scholarship, but he's here to play tennis and go to school in Milwaukee. And I was talking to him the other day and I said, "Is it ever cold there?" And he just goes, "No." He was like, "It's just always hot."
Is there like a highland area or is it all kind of lower elevation?
There's a rainforest and there's big mountains everywhere.
Oh, okay. So it
Sounds
probably
cool.
is cold somewhere then.
What was
up in the
like your
mountains.
target species? What was the one that you wanted to see the most?
Puerto Rican spindalis, and
That
I
sounds
got
cool.
Yeah, that's sweet. And it was a school trip, right? So you kind of had to bird on your free
Yeah.
time, or
I was able to pick up 31 lifers.
Nice. How many endemics are there? You may not know the exact number, but is there
I
a
think
lot of stuff there, or is it kind of just a set amount of, not
I
a
think
ton?
I think it was like 18. Someone told me.
That's pretty cool.
how many did you get?
I don't have an exact count.
We
I
over
think-
10?
I don't think so.
9?
Nuevo.
Nuevo?
Yeah, I think it is 18, maybe. Oh, sorry, 17 Puerto Rico endemic birds. And then there's a lot of like non-native species there too, right?
Yeah, like there's a lot of munias and things in that family. And I got bronze mannequin and scaly breasted munia.
Oh,
That's
nice.
cool. Were there any birds that were very familiar because they also just live, where you live that you saw and you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, hey.
The usual house sparrow,
Oh,
and rock doves.
they're everywhere. They'll
But
make you feel at home.
instead of mourning doves, there was the native doves.
That's really cool.
What was
I
that?
will have to tell you that one of the experiences of having my son go on a trip like this, where I was left at home to work, was it was sort of fun to be getting sporadic texts and pictures of birds that he was going out and spotting, and then on top of it kind of rubbing in my face that he was getting these lifers and I wasn't. So it was you kept telling me that he knew I was jealous, and I was trying to impress upon him that there was no jealousy. There was excitement and happiness for his success, but he does not believe this.
I think he was definitely jealous when I got pin-tailed white and northern red bishop.
Yeah, I feel like we're on one of those castaway like survivor shows where we have one of you guys talk and you're like, yeah, I definitely wasn't jealous. And then he cuts in and like he was definitely jealous. So
Well, I think we've all experienced when someone's on a trip and they just keep sending you things, and at first you are happy for them, and oh yeah, that's so great that you got that lifer. I'm really glad for you, and you genuinely feel happy. And then after it happens for the 25th time, you're not as happy anymore.
Yeah. So, uh, do you know the term Schadenfreude?
No.
So Schadenfreude is taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune.
Oh, I feel that.
Yes, and it was definitely clear that he was feeling Schadenfreude for my, phantom jealousy at these birds. I think half of your enjoyment was not just seeing the bird, but that I too wasn't seeing it. So, right?
But guess what? That's going to come back around when you decide to go to Puerto Rico, and then you get lifers that he already has.
Yes.
And then you'll get to feel that toward him if you so choose. But I'm sure that as an upstanding teacher and father, you will not feel that in any way.
I'm doing my best. He kept pushing, and at one point I did say that I was going to apply for a grant so that I could go to the Galapagos one day.
Oh,
but I would never do that in my heart of hearts.
A one-person grant, that's all that they're going to be willing to give.
Well, I was thinking like we're taking all these trips and to go to cool places, and then I'm like, if my kid's into birding, am I just gonna go back to all these places to be like, now we need to get you the thick-billed mirror in New Jersey?
Any of your children will even like birds.
There's no guarantee, but I'm just thinking, like, if it is, am I gonna have to do all? Should I just wait until later?
Would you want your children to like birds, or would you want to be like, no, don't do it?
No,
it'll lead you down a bad path.
Don't be like me.
Yeah, don't be like me. Look at me in my life. Don't do it.
You're going to medical school.
Yeah. You're going to become an accountant.
No, I couldn't do that. I feel like they have to have some appreciation of nature. I feel like if it's not birds, like it could be frogs or something like that.
Going cool. Frogging?
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you, as a father, were you like, Otys, I like birds, you should like these too? Or was he just naturally into it?
Did you have to sit him down and have a talk and say, this is the way it's going to be? This is an American robin, and this is going to be your new life?
Yes.
It kind of started, we got our spark bird. My mom was running a race, and we saw a red-tailed hawk flying into a tree, and it landed, and then we saw it go down and catch two mice right in front of us. I think that was our spark bird, and I thought that was really cool, but it really didn't get me into like birding. My dad brought home a book, and we identified a starling as a grackle.
That's tough.
And then my dad just started getting into it, and I kind of had this I hate birding phase because I wasn't really into it. But then when mom signed me up for the World Series, I had a lot of fun when I heard Chuck Goul's Widow, and then I just got into it.
Yeah, and the World Series, for people that don't know, that's basically a big day, right? You guys go out and try to find as many species in a day, but you guys call it the World Series, right?
World Series of birding.
Yeah. You know what, Jeff, I realized too is that he not only does that thing to you where he tries to make you jealous, he does it to me as well. Because he'll just randomly, Snapchat me some rare thing that showed up that he was able to get. And he knows it. Look at him, see?
Yeah. That smile tells everything.
Yep, there it is.
There's another word that I have been teaching him. It's called mutida. And mutida is cultivating a selfless enjoyment of somebody else's, luck or goodness. And so really teaching this idea. And I think this is good for birders in general, because I think it's natural that a lot of birders, especially in the days of eBird, where somebody else goes and gets a bird that you missed, that you wanted to see, that negative feeling, that anger, that's not a good thing. And so if you can kind of cultivate and say, it's okay that I didn't see it, I'm happy for that other person, I think that's really, really healthy. And so that's what we try to work on. So mutida, it's very important in the birding world.
I think that's important in life. I mean, if you can master that, because the root of so much pain is just jealousy over what you don't have and seeing what other people have. And especially in the social media age where you're bombarded by it, if you can actually take genuine pleasure in other people's fortune, that's just, a shortcut to being happy, basically. But it's so hard to be able to actually do it in practice.
Yeah. It's something that, every weekend, if we go, when we go birding, we'll have this great morning where we go and see X, Y, and Z birds, and then get in the car and he'll look at eBird and he'll say, oh, we missed this. We didn't see this. This was reported, in Southern Jersey. And I think that's another issue that's really important to talk about. Is birding is really about, being with the people that you connect with, going out, enjoying yourselves, and you don't have to see everything. Maybe if it's a World Series big day where the goal is to see as many species obviously as possible, but on a regular daily basis, you just can't keep that pace up.
Yeah, and I feel like, we have a nice group of people that we kind of know in the birding community now. I feel like it's a lot easier when you personally know those people, when they see something cool, to just be like, oh man, that's awesome. They got to see like X species. Or if you know it's like a nemesis bird, you're like, oh, such and such finally got to see like this one. You kind of like vicariously live through them as well.
You can speak for yourself on that. I'm like,
well, on the other end,
the time I really do feel that, but it's still kind of selfish, like admittedly selfish, is that he went to see the field fair and I didn't go to see the field fair that was reported, but I was like, oh, I'm really happy that Derek got to see it. So altruistic, because it's going to go on our channel. And I'm like, not altruistic anymore.
Well, I was like, you should go see the field fair. And you're like, I just don't really want to.
Yeah,
I was like, all right.
Back
fine.
when we were newer, I was more of, I need to see this. I need to see that. I need to chase it. I need to get this, yada, yada, yada. Now more things show up that I just am not chasing because I don't feel the need anymore.
But on the other end of the spectrum, we had a podcast with our friend Dwayne Patton, and he used a term that I never heard in the birding community in the US, but it was grip, which is where you dip on something and somebody sees it, and you can use it like grip off as well. So that is
like I gripped off on that.
Literally the opposite of what you're teaching of like, man, I can't believe they saw that.
I guess that's the dark side. Versus the force, maybe is that?
Yeah,
that yes.
Australia has the dark side of birding strong.
Maybe it's like a European,
the backside of thing.
No,
that's great. That's great. Yes, we want to let go of the grip and cultivate the mutida.
Right, exactly.
What is the language of origin for that word?
I believe mutida is a term from Hinduism. I believe it's either a Buddhism or Hindu term.
It also sounds like a big party. Like, sorry, I can't do anything tonight. I'm hosting a mutida.
Yeah, it's good feelings.
I'm hosting these good feelings over here.
Yeah.
Yes. The jam.
But we actually met you guys when we were out in New Jersey, and then we got to Bird Central Park. And so we showcased a little bit about what that was like. But what's it like living in that area? What's the birding scene like?
I think first, though, you should talk about how we even met them, because it was pretty serendipitous, actually.
That's true. It was looking for that thick-billed murre. Some people say myrrh. Some people say murre. But
murre camp.
Yeah, but that was like the first thing.
It up. I like that.
What was that?
I like the way you inflect it up. The murre.
I say myrrh.
Well, you can get out.
We were looking for that. That was the first thing we did after we got off the plane. We had to drive through all the New York traffic. And so we were looking for it on this boardwalk, and we were looking one way and you guys were coming the other way. And I remember, I think it was us. We were like, oh, are you guys looking for the mirror? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, I think I just saw it over there. And that ended up being it.
Yeah.
And you said you would go birding with us. And then you showed us all around Central Park.
Well, he saw your Badgerland shirt and was like, Badgerland birding. I love you guys.
That helps. It helps make connection.
Yeah, that's true.
You want to hear about what it's like to live around the city?
Yeah.
Or just like the whole state in general, well, I guess New York and Jersey, because you're far enough north that you go into New York fairly often, it sounds like.
We don't really have, in the city, it's very hard because we don't have that much big forest, so there's not many breeding birds. But during migration, there's little pockets that get a lot of cool stuff, and you can pick up some cool birds in those small pockets.
I would agree. It's anytime during the migration, it's game on. Especially we live in Hoboken, which is right across the river from the city, as you guys saw when you visited. And at any point, any bird can show up anywhere. And so Central Park is amazing. But just this March, I believe it was, we went out on a day. We went to Brooklyn Bridge Park, and there was a Swainson's warbler that was hanging out near the water. And we got just these incredible looks, 4 feet from us as it foraged. And then we took a ride back on our way home. We stopped off, and just in a little courtyard of a brick tower, there's a little garden, and there's a blue grosbeak hanging out there. And those kind of moments for me are the most enjoyable, I think, because you never would have thought that this little bit of nature would be able to pull in a bird like that. And it really, I guess for me, it kind of tells that story of how important, individual choices are to plant this tree, to have this shrub, to put these flowers in. It brings it all together.
So we actually got a comment on the Central Park video that has both of you in it. So if anyone listening wants to watch Jeff and Otys in action birding, the Central Park video is where you can catch them. But the person said that park saved their life basically during COVID, because they said that's their serene, happy place, especially the
Ramble.
The ramble, yeah, particularly the ramble. So it just goes to show the impact that can have on not only the wildlife that uses it, but also the humans that use it too. So I thought that was interesting.
Totally.
So first of all, Ryan's never seen Swainson's warbler. So are you
Yep,
feeling the
that
Mookie
was
dog? Or are
one
you
of the
feeling the
ones-
grandpa?
Well, that was one of the ones.
Yes.
Otys sent me. I don't remember if it was a picture of it. Or just said got Swainson's warbler, and then I said, "Oh, cool, that would be a lifer for me." And he goes, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Oh, that'd be a lifer for you."
See,
What a loser!
Here's the photo that I took.
Did he send you a photo?
I think he did.
No.
Yeah. And he sent a middle finger too.
Oh, Otys.
I did.
No, I hope not. We'll have to talk about your social media use if that's the case.
With the New York scene though, was it sadly after that, didn't somebody find a dead Swainson's warbler?
I was just going to mention,
Which is, you guys have to deal with a lot of window strikes and stuff.
A week later, it showed up about a mile from my house in walking distance in Jersey City, and it was found dead right in front of a window. And for me, that was really sad because I saw this really cool bird that was singing and foraging right in front of me. And then a week later, I saw a report of it dead.
And it's probably the same one.
It's definitely the same bird.
It was pretty much, a straight line across the Hudson River to Newport. It's part of Jersey City. And it had been found in another spot near the PATH station where it's not uncommon during the migration to that area pulls in some birds as well. Lincoln sparrows, things like that. And just really, really tragic to have this surprise. It's really a roller coaster of emotions. This joy, this happy moment that we got to share together, lifer, and then the area that it flew into is just, shiny towers that kind of have those mirror windows. I guess it's a good opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing. You want to tell them, and then I have a reflection.
In our city, we have a college called Stevens Campus, Stevens Institute of Technology, and on their campus, they recently built these 2 big glass towers, and we've been finding a lot of dead birds there, mostly hermit thrushes in the migration, and it's really sad because our freezer is filled with dead birds, and we're working to try to put up window decals to stop the collisions.
Asterisk. We have a federal salvaging permit for the purposes of education.
Always good to mention.
Yeah. So that's why we're able to do that. And just last week, we actually went to Muhlenberg to meet with Daniel Clem, who's world renowned. He's the person who really has led all of the research on window strikes. Started way back in the late 60s, early 70s. An amazing person, an amazing scientist, and he taught us how to make a scientific skin, which is the goal for the bird, so we could start to educate more and more people. Yeah, so we've been dealing with this now for about 3 years, and I have slowly started to see that, like, every birder, anyone who birds has a spark bird, right? I'm a big believer in there's like a second spark that helps to get to another place in birding, which is ultimately trying to help and be a steward for birds and wildlife. And so that I definitely have a story for that. This is one of them. When we were birding together on that campus, and we heard a warbling vireo and an ovenbird, and again, because we live in a city, these are birds that we really, really cherish all that much more. And, we ran to the other side of this building, and it turned out that that was the final cry, the final song that these birds sang. They just went right into glass that looked like the reflection of the Palisades. And, those are the first two birds that we collected. We started keeping data and really kind of walked people towards understanding that there was a problem here. And to bring it full circle, to have that positive experience of the Swainson's warbler, and then to see what happened to it with the window strike, it's really important to us to kind of bring awareness, to have conversations like these, and then to take action, right? To not just sit back. So we've really been working with the school. They've actually started to put up some deterrents, very, very small steps. It's a long process, but every window is a possible threat to a bird. And so anything that you can do to help mitigate that problem will make an impact. We just learned a stat. Do you know how many birds a day die due to windows in this country?
Oh man, I feel like it's got to be high. Probably higher in the migration season.
Because I think I heard, I don't remember if it's billions or millions, because I know there's a shocking amount that die due to feral cats, but I thought it was like many millions or a billion of window collisions too.
Do you want to share how many
Yeah,
daily?
why don't you tell us, Otys?
What was it? I can't.
3.5 million a day.
Whoa.
Is the new tally.
Million a day.
Yeah, a day, right?
And
And
from window strikes?
from window strikes, yeah.
That's
And
wild.
yeah, a recent paper published by Dr. Clem, and which I can send to you. And so cats, he's also discovered that a lot of the birds that cats will actually, take are actually birds that hit a window and either were already dead or, hit a window and then are injured, and then, are that much easier for cats to take in. So cats that are a problem, windows is by far the biggest threat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you find anything on that?
Yeah, it looked, said in, a new paper said that that's what they think.
That's just crazy to think about because, we always talk about the fear of the silent spring, the fear that will reach the point where there's not enough birds anymore to even register, really, for you to even notice. And I think that a lot of people on an annual basis for the last 5 years, at least, every spring have said that it feels as though there's less and less and less and less. And when you think about millions per day, that makes a dent after a while. Like there's a lot of birds out there, but eventually, sooner or later, that's going to become noticeable.
Totally. And, there are solutions. There are ways of avoiding it. And, absolutely becoming aware of the 1 billion birds dying. It's such a broad number that I think it's too big for any of us to really comprehend. But when we started paying attention and seeing ovenbird, warbling vireo, robin, starling, it was like, oh, this is how it happens. This is how 1 billion birds die, because it's silent, right? And most of the people, we would talk to people on the campus and we'll say, hey, have you noticed any birds? And they would go, oh yeah, now that you mention it, but most people are kind of in their own world throughout most of the day. Most people are not birders, and a lot of these birds get, just they break down. They're in the mulch and kind of thought of as almost like roadkill. They're not even seen. And so the minute we started seeing those birds, which I think this kind of goes to that second spark, right? Because when you have a spark bird, you go from thinking all of the things that are in the sky that fly are now, that's a song sparrow, that's a cormorant. You start to see birds. This second spark of noticing the birds that are being cut down by windows, you can't unsee them anymore. And you really see how big of a problem it is. And so something that came about as a result of this that I actually kind of really recommend to birders is just as you keep a life list, you should start to keep a death diary. And that sounds maybe like morbid, but I think it's really impactful for people to start to pay attention to those species and notice where and when you see them in the same way that you remember your lifers. Because the next step from doing that is saying, there's a problem here. I want to address it. And I think it's really important for birders to be advocates, for birders to take those steps to bring change to their communities, because that's really how these big problems are going to get solved.
I feel like if you're encountering that on a daily basis, it's much more impactful, because I feel like, at least for me, I don't encounter that many dead birds, but I'm not hanging around the bases of buildings in Milwaukee or Chicago or a big city like that. So I feel like if, students had to do that as like a volunteer project or something, they'd probably be much more aware of that it's a problem. If you're actually going around seeing these dead birds and encountering them, or not even just students, just like everybody, if they had a chance to go do that.
Well, part of the problem too is that a lot of these major cities are placed right underneath the flyways. So, even where we are, technically the flyways deviate right around it, but they do go right over Chicago and Milwaukee. So these places are, strategically built for people to be in the right spot, but it also happens to be where the flyways are. What I was going to ask is, do you think that the ultimate solution for this, because you just won't be able to get everybody to care about birds, you end up with the people that they want to make money, they want this building built, they want to move to a different office space, there's all this progress that they're wanting to make, and you're not going to be able to convince them that it's necessary even to care about birds. Do you think government legislation is the only way to actually get anything done on a large scale?
I think it's a huge, huge component to the bigger government mandate that we can get, the more influential it's going to be. New York City has passed bird-friendly legislation, and things are really slowly but gradually starting to change there, which is wonderful. And so to have a national addressing of the issue, which I know some organizations are pushing for that. Lobbying Congress for it. It's definitely a hope. I'm definitely working towards both a citywide and then a statewide legislation. In many ways, particularly my city, Hoboken, I think of it, some people call it, the sixth borough. And so there's a symbiotic relationship, whether or not, we're from New Jersey, they're from New York, but they're so close, they're so connected. It just kind of makes sense for us to do that. And then that awareness component, there's so many people who just don't know about the problem, speaking to contractors, architects. And then, the smallest thing I can do matters. So just last week, someone came to me and said, hey, I have this robin who keeps coming to my windows and, bouncing off of it and almost like attacking it. And I said, he just sees his own reflection in the glare and thinks it's another bird. Here's a window decal, put it up. And now that person who really knew nothing about birds, came back to me and said, wow, I haven't seen that bird do that again. It's amazing. You solved the problem. And then, so windows, they're a problem for birds. And just that conversation then is going to impact other people this conversation is obviously going to, connect with listeners as well. And you never know kind of where those go and who they connect with.
Yeah, that's true. We had the big McCormick Place incident in Chicago. I think it was last migration season where some crazy amount of birds died. And then there was a big petition. Yeah, in like one day. And then there was a big petition that went around that we shared, a bunch of our friends shared. And now I think there's some sign that they're starting to actually do something about it, which is good to feel like you can actually have some kind of difference. But yeah, it would be nice to have some larger scale legislation about it. And everything I learned about birds and birding kind of comes back to conservation. It's like, well, what can we do to give back? It's always, conservation is the big thing of preserving what we have, and even taking some of these areas that have been claimed by urbanization and, maybe even rewilding those and making them back to habitat and doing that. So I think we're going to see kind of like a push-pull of, development, and then some lands hopefully being reclaimed, and then trying to preserve what we have. But one thing that bothers me is when it seems like a new developer comes in, they'll always make something new, and then you'll have these like empty lots. It's like, why can't you just make it on the empty lot? Like, why are we tearing down new areas to build? Like, that always frustrates me. It's just stuff like that as a normal person, you feel like you don't have any control over. That's tough to just watch happen.
I think something that's hard with conservation is that, if somebody says, hey, you should participate in conservation, what does that mean to most people? Like, give some money. But then who do you give the money to, and how do you ensure it's actually being used for something that's useful instead of something that's just not going to help? So.
You give it to Jeff and Otys.
Jeff and Otys, yeah. So I think that people, even if they do want to help, they kind of don't know what to do about it per se, because, I can recognize the problem. Well, we're a little different because we have a bit of a platform, but the normal person recognizes, okay, this is an issue. What do I do about it? I don't really know, so I guess I won't do anything about it.
Yeah, it becomes daunting. Right. Problem gets too big. I guess for me, one of the things is engaging in, basically, instead of looking out and going, who's someone else that can solve this? The way that I deal with that is, okay, I'm going to try to address this and see what I can do. And I kind of just go about and learn as much as possible. I have a really good ally as well, who's willing to help and support and help me learn. My whole family, actually, our whole family. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Terns and kind of what's been happening in Hoboken there to kind of give an illustration of this?
There's been, since last year, there was a big colony of Terns. We had 50 last year, and then this year, the owner of the pier wanted to use it for space. So he put up nets and like reflective tape so that the Terns couldn't get in. And now there's only 7. But it's turned into a really good story
that we're working towards. So yeah, we went back and we checked the eBird records last year, 50 Terns, and immediately these nets that were put up, basically kind of like you said, right? So because other areas had been developed, birds came in onto this pier since Hurricane Sandy. So it's been about, 2013. So about 11 years now, and congregated on this pier that really wasn't being used. And then all of a sudden the developer said, you know what, we want to use that. We want to make some money on it. And so we had this beautiful colony of at least 50 Terns. The nets go up. We tried to persuade them to bring it down. They said no, and now the colony is kind of dispersed, but there were a few Terns, and the phrase that we came up with is ternacious. They were super tenacious. They made it through the netting, and immediately, 3 or 4 birds started engaging in courting, mating, and then egg laying, nesting, and so that really kind of changed everything because of the federal migratory bird.
Breeding. Yeah, that's true. You're like, we just needed one. We got it.
That's it. And ultimately, one of them became entangled, unfortunately, and died. And we were able to really kind of raise awareness with the public, and through some help with the mayor, we were able to convince them to actually take down the nets and to basically leave this space for the terns, which was, awesome. It's a great feeling. And it's now, every time we go out there to this pier, since the nets have come down, a few other birds have returned. It's
Sure.
gratifying it's kind of introduced us to this new level of birding where you look out and you see these chicks being fed, and a small act that you did helped to support them. They have no idea that you're out there, but you're working for them basically to have those moments. And that's really, really been special. Yeah.
They're common terms, by the way.
I was going to
cool.
ask, actually.
Yeah.
I kind of figured because it would be, along the ocean, so that was my best guess, but I was going to ask that.
Common, but special.
Common in name only, just in the name. I was going to mention, we, as people that appreciate birds and science and things, love charts and graphs, right? That Venn diagram of things that make money and things that help wildlife, when you can mix that and find the middle there, that's when you end up with the good stories. So a lot of those habitats, like, is it South America where they're doing this a lot?
Like ecotourism?
Yeah, where the ecotourism is bringing in the dollars for the place. Or even South Texas is a good example, is the ecotourism on like Santa Margarita Ranch. People are going down there and paying to see the birds. So that means the ranch owners don't have to try to do anything to plow the land or to try to change it or, put pigs or cows or anything on it. So it's a great story of where the ecotourism has helped everybody, basically.
Yeah.
And I feel like the thing you described about when you guys walk by that pier, you're like, they didn't know that like we had their back, but we kind of played a part in this colony. That's how people feel about having bird feeders in their backyard,
Mm-hmm.
where they're making a little oasis. We're like, yeah, this bird took a bath, and I wouldn't have done that if I didn't put my bird bath out.
Not exactly the same feeling,
I feel like that is kind of the thing, because like we just put a couple hummingbird feeders out to test, like the products we're testing, but we got hummingbirds, and I'm like, man, I got to feed these things all summer. I can't just let them down and take the feeders back.
It kind of goes back to what we were saying there, earlier about how every tree, every shrub, every flower, every bird bath, they play a role in maintaining and helping, supporting these creatures that we love, the wilding.
Yeah, we also had a moment, we were at Retzer Nature Center doing some bird photography, and they have a really nice prairie for bobolinks. And I was talking to Ryan about like what other place would let their grass grow this long to let these birds nest here. So if that nature center wasn't there, what household or what property is going to be like, yeah, let's let the grass grow super long and just let the birds come in. So it's really incredible to have those little bird oasis areas for them to have the proper habitats.
So I guess it boils down to what the question would be is, on the small scale for listeners, what can they do about the window collision problem? Mostly focus on their own homes, or what's the best way for them to do something if they want to do something, in your opinion?
Great question. You want to go first?
You can order bird decals online. They can be these really small stickers, and you just put them on the window. They have to be on the outside, and the birds will see them. They won't block your view at all, and that'll stop the window strikes.
Yeah, so that's step one, right? Absolutely. Even if you don't think that window is impacting a bird, all it takes is one time, right? And that's one of the 3.5 million a day. And so certainly identify, those windows that could cause a problem, that are highly reflective in nature, things like that. Put those out there, and just that visibility to other people who visit your house. What is that? That would then lead them to do the same. And I would say after that, anytime that you are going to build or put in new windows, things like that, there are so many options now for bird-friendly glass, and they're really not that costly, compared to non-bird-friendly glass. And so also, if you're looking for a new place, start to ask those questions. Hey, is this building built with bird-friendly glass? I think that's really, really valuable. And when you're inquiring about a green building, not all LEED certified buildings are bird friendly. And so taking that to task, asking an architect, hey, are you designing your buildings for birds? And then, another act that you can kind of do is use dbird.org is what we use. There's multiple eBird like apps out there or websites for reporting dead birds. But even that, it's really empowering. We so many of us as birders use eBird, and it helps us to identify hotspots. In the same way, find out what it is, because I know it's regional. New York City's is dbird, D as in dead, bird.org. And even that, you're making your way through your day. You see a bird on the ground that's dead, take a picture of it, report it, and who knows? Maybe there's a problem there that we don't know about. And through your, taking that second to report it, somebody else does the same. All of a sudden, we start to see, hey, this is a major problem that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard of dbird.org, actually. Do you know if you can volunteer to be a building monitor? Is that something people can be like proactive, like, hey, I want to monitor like this building for dead birds? Is there a program where they can go sign up for that?
Sure. So, well, the answer is kind of like, yes, absolutely. Meaning you can go out and start reporting now for that building that you've been eyeing, right? And the beautiful thing about dBird is it's run by ABC, American Bird Conservancy. And this is exactly what we did. We said, we got a problem here at the university that we were looking at. And then we email ABC, and they give us full access to the data. So, we have the Excel spreadsheets of anyone that reports to that hotspot. And while the Jacob Javits Center, for example, in New York City was a problem, New York City Audubon at the time, they ran this program where they had monitors throughout the year who were counting birds. And so what I would say, if you're interested in that, cities like Chicago, Toronto, I believe Detroit, have programs up and running, people who are kind of devoted to this. And, you can reach out to them and absolutely say, I want to help. And that just as, we've gotten to know the two of you really, really well from the birding community, the more you get to know other people from, the Bird Strikes and Windows community, it's just a really great group of people who have kind of had that second spark and who are really invested in trying to help solve this problem.
Yeah, definitely. All good stuff. Conservation related things, that people can take home and start to work on themselves.
I mean, it is like obviously a super old idea is that every little bit helps, but if tons of people started taking the individual steps, at some point suddenly you have lots of people taking the steps, and that's when you see the most change. So
yeah, I think for me, having a building like you guys where you saw, like, you've seen birds die, like you've heard them call and then you see them dead on the ground, having something like that, and then putting decals on it and then seeing that not happen, that would make a huge impact. I think having that firsthand experience
that can make less of an impact.
Gotta keep it light. But yeah, I feel like having something like that would make a big impact, because like I said, around here, like, I don't run into too many dead birds.
The Northwestern Mutual building in Milwaukee is one they collect a lot of dead birds.
I know they're already working on that.
They've got a little bit of a Tom and Jerry thing going on there, where they sent someone to monitor those, and now I think the building has someone that goes out to clean them up before the monitor can get out there, so that it's going to hide the fact that there's a lot of birds being killed by it.
Really terrible.
There's some stuff going on from what I've heard, at least. I don't know if that's true.
You get somebody thrown in jail here.
I don't think that would be illegal, but that's just what I heard from somebody, which I suspect could totally be accurate. I don't know.
In this day and age with cameras, you hope that somebody around there has something so that they can kind of prove that. that would be really sad if that were true, because you're getting in the way of just understanding that there's a problem, right? And to go out and clean up that problem is almost an acknowledgement that there is a problem, and you just want it to be swept under the rug, which is
right.
Yeah, and that's one thing I hate is when businesses try to hide stuff. They're like, "Oh, there's a problem. Let's turn the comments off so nobody can see it. Let's delete the problem so that nobody can see it."
Well, it's one of those things where they just don't have the same interests about it. You know, they're not here to save birds. You know, some people in the organization probably do care at least a little bit, but you know, the general organization as a whole isn't there to be ecologically friendly. It's there to make money.
Yeah, and there are organizations that are doing a good job of this stuff too. I know, like when we were at the Biggest Week, they talked about the Black Swamp Bird Observatory working on the feral cat problem and the window strike problem. So there are other organizations kind of putting forth effort to work on this too. So it's encouraging to see that.
I feel as though every week we're talking about some new conservation problem, though. It's been the cats for a while, and now it's this, and you just realize how hard birds actually have it. The more that you talk about it, and it's a wonder that any of them even make it from all the way down south. North and
I mean, if you think about a migration, how many obstacles you face trying to find food, running into glass, avoiding predators, crossing oceans. Like, it's amazing.
Like a video game you could
make. Does. Yeah. It's basically Flappy Bird, but in real life, except instead of pipes, it's like windows and
chance to addict
hawks
you to
and things.
Probably.
But yeah, it's got to be tough. So when you see that, warbler there, you got to appreciate his journey.
All that goes into looking through the bins at that amazing bird now. It's miraculous when you think about it.
Yeah. On a lighter note, Otys, I know you did a World Series, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago. You guys did pretty well. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you guys fared?
We won in our category. We got 190.
Hey.
Let's go, Otys. It's a good total.
How many was it?
194.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's basically you have 24 hours and there's different categories. You can either do it in car or by biking. There's a lot of different ones. We did a full state team, or was it youth team?
So the high school,
yeah, high school full state. You have 24 hours to see as many birds as possible, and we went from the most northern part of New Jersey all the way down to Cape May. How do I explain the 5% rule?
Oh, okay. Well, so there's a concept called
a dirty bird.
What's a dirty bird?
A dirty bird is.
I think that's in Philadelphia.
No, it was Atlanta. Atlanta was the dirty bird.
The Falcons, right? Yeah.
A dirty bird is when only a few of the team members get on the bird, and not everyone does. One of them for this year was great horned owl. I didn't hear it. You're only allowed to have 5% of the birds dirty birds, so you really have to work together to see all the birds together.
Interesting.
I would just love telling these rules to someone that doesn't know anything about birds and just be like, you have 24 hours to see as many of them as possible. Only 5% of them are allowed to be dirty. Now go.
Yes. And you don't have to see every bird. You can hear the bird.
What was your guys' biggest miss? Because when we did our big day, we had some really bad misses.
We missed Oz.
It was almost the same as you guys, peregrine falcon.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
But you guys got it.
Kind of.
It was
yes.
I don't know. I was the kind of thing where, like, I don't know if I would count that on my list, but I think Ryan and Cole were like all in on it.
You watched the video, right?
We watched the video. I was giving you a thumbs up. It was acceptable.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. You could see the blob, and then you could see on the Nest camera where the bird was in the thing, and then you could see the heat signature. So
what if the Nest cam is delayed?
You could deductively reason that was the peregrine falcon you were seeing on the Nest cam in that moment.
I don't know, man.
How do you know it was not a rock duff?
We could see in the Nest cam, though. It had a Nest cam on it.
So you could actually watch it in real time. You'd be like, "Oh, I see the peregrine falcon on the nest."
Yeah,
we actually had a similar experience with a barn owl. That would have been my lifer barn owl. So we were sitting by this barn, and it had a camera inside of it, so we could log on to the live stream and see it was in there. And we never saw it in real life, though. Like, we couldn't even see a
We
shadow
thought
of it.
around before it got dark, it would come out to hunt, but I think it was a female on nest.
Yeah,
so it never
stood
had
up,
to.
And we were like, oh, there it is. And then it just sat back down. And we're like, oh. Yeah.
Barn owl is a nemesis bird for us.
Yes.
Oh, well, I feel that.
We have, maybe we can meet up and try to find a barn together. That would be nice.
I think so.
No owl, though, just a barn.
It's got to be a barn. Got to be a barn.
We'll have to go meet in Texas or something like that, where I think they're supposed to be plentiful.
Well, we're booked. We're ready to go for November.
Fantastic. We don't know for sure if we're guiding yet.
I'm going.
You're going. Okay, yeah. He knows for sure. He's guiding. He's in.
I'm in. Yeah.
We'll make sure that we see a lot of birds with you, Derek, and then rub it in Ryan's face.
Whoa, Jeff, what's going on over there?
So.
Oh man,
that doesn't sound very
mentorly
of you. So. He's trying to grip me.
Well, cool. Anything else you guys wanted to say about that, like New Jersey, New York scene? One thing I obviously hated was the tolls. There were tolls everywhere. I felt like we were constantly taking our wallets out to pay for things.
You guys don't have tolls?
Not in this Wisconsin. No. Illinois has a bunch though.
So that's interesting. You don't have Easy Pass with your rental car, right?
No.
So how much would you say that you were paying, kind of going up and down the Parkway and the Turnpike?
It ended up being quite a bit because we there were a couple we couldn't get to like actually pay, and then the rental company charged us more because we went through them. So they like incurred an additional fee. So like, I don't know, probably at least $100.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm realizing it's something I take for granted now because we have Easy Pass, and I just don't think, I don't pay.
I don't want you to think about this.
Oh, totally. Totally. So I really don't pay tolls on my commute during the week, but when we go birding, it's just wherever I need to go, I go. And so it's not something I notice, but I totally hear you on that. In terms of New York, New Jersey, New Jersey itself, I just think is also a really special place. We love birding Jersey, and I think it gets a bad rap in many ways because when people first come into New Jersey, their first impression is the New Jersey Turnpike, and where there's so many factories, but there's so much amazing nature in the state, and there's a lot of people who care about bringing back and conserving the area. Our common terns, as I kind of impressed to the landowner and the city, this is a success story. These are birds that we've really worked hard to heal the Hudson River, and they're proof positive that the river's coming back. Just today, I sent Otys a photo from a friend of mine. There was a sturgeon in the Hudson River. And so that's really happening all over the state. And it's totally bringing back, a lot of the birds that we've talked about on this conversation, and just birds in general that we love. And then, you have Cape May, which, you went down to, and it's just such a special place as well during the migrations, fall migration. You can go down there and it's like a river of birds, and that will, I guess, if you're feeling down, seeing and witnessing that is a great motivator, right? To see, how the birds are so committed to their journeys, and to see how they kind of funnel down there and travel on down south. It's pretty remarkable. There's a lot of really, really wonderful things to see.
I do have to say, someone at a gas station in New Jersey referred to it as the South Dirty Jers. So that's the reputation that the locals are giving it that you have to overcome there. But I did find it to be very beautiful, especially a lot of the coastal areas. The salt marshes were very beautiful.
The Brants
everywhere at the Barnegat Lighthouse were beautiful. The coastline was pretty. A lot of
That's
forest.
A special bird for you, the brant, yes?
It's a great bird, yeah. We barely see them. And then at Barnegat Lighthouse, they were right there in big numbers, so it was cool.
Yeah, we actually had a similar story to kind of your Swainsons, where there was a brant that was hanging out here. It had a messed up wing. People were kind of watching it, making sure it was okay, and then it went somewhere further south, and it ended up getting hit by a car. So it's kind of a sad, you're like, I saw that brand, and then
Yeah.
to find out kind of its fate is sad.
Yeah, but
Yep.
I guess one thing I would like your opinion on, I think I've asked you about it before, is two questions about birding in New Jersey. What are your top places that people must go to if they visit New Jersey? And then what are the 5 best birds that you would find if you got to New Jersey? Like, what are your 5
OMG. You want to mention the birds?
No,
Otis
under
always
the
gives me wild answers when I ask him about this.
Can we have like a conglomeration of answers?
You can, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, we'll give 3 spots and 5 birds.
Okay.
You seemed ready to go.
Yeah.
I'd say number 1 is Brig. It's like a really big spot where a lot of shorebirds come, and there's also a forest, and like grasslands, so you can get a lot of species that live in a lot of different habitats there.
What's the full
And
name?
it's did you went to Brig, Forsyth?
Oh, that's the same as Forsyth?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Then yeah, it's
Yeah.
like Patrick B. Forsyth National Wildlife Refuge or
Yep.
something like that. Yeah,
And
that was a cool place.
So like this, it's just unique in that it's like this 8-mile loop basically, right? And you can just slowly kind of go around that square, that circle or square, and there's just so many species that you could see pretty clearly.
Another one I would say is the Wallkill, the Liberty Loop Trail.
What's
that
the Liberty Loop Trail?
It's one of the only spots in New Jersey where there's breeding sandhill cranes and common gondolas. And then in the winter, I've seen pine siskins there and rusty blackbirds.
And anytime, and that's interesting. We're doing all of these loops.
Yeah.
So you make your way around that depending upon the season. Orchard Orioles. I just have so many fond memories of the two of us kind of exploring that. That whole area is really nice. And then number 3.
What do you think?
Whew. I guess I think a real special place is actually Garrett Mountain, which overlooks the Watchung Valley. You get this amazing view of kind of northern New Jersey that kind of rolls out into New York City. But you have this beautiful cliff that's great for kind of warblers. And there's just so many habitats there all around that it's the kind of place where you can really see some special birds. And you never know who you're going to run into at Garrett Mountain. I nearly ran into Kate Winslet, who I found out was a birder who birds there, from Titanic.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. And I met 10-time World Series of Birding champ Chris Aquila at that place. So you never know who's gonna kind of show up there. And for a New Jersey spot, it's really, really cool.
Did you guys have 5 places or 3 places?
Otis said 3.
That was 3. We said 3 places, 5 birds.
3 places.
Cape May is not in your 3.
It's very hard. If there's 5 places, the last 2 would be in Cape May.
And what about Barnegat?
I was absolutely thinking Cape May, but I've already talked about Cape May a little bit and kind of gave that advertisement. And so it was like, let's try to come up with 3 others. But yeah, asterisk, Cape May is just really, really special. And there's, no matter when you go, there's always surprises and really wonderful people as well who, are happy to take you birding.
There's always a vagrant there.
Vagrant person or a vagrant bird?
Vagrant bird.
Yeah, what about Barnegat Lighthouse? We really liked going there.
Yeah, we thought that place was fantastic.
I think it's much better in the winter because that's when the harlequin ducks arrive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the purple sandpipers on the rocks. And you can get really close to long-tailed ducks.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I bet that place is really cool in wintertime for sure.
I think what we're seeing from this conversation is that New Jersey has endless amounts of birding places and that anyone should come and really check this place out.
I think everyone should go to every state and check it out, but Yeah, it's cool. It's cool going there and kind of knowing what the hot spots are and
Yeah.
knowing what they're like, because sometimes it gets to a state you'll be like, oh, this place looks good, and then there's a fee or it's closed at a weird time. Like, it's nice to have the knowledge of like, yeah, if I go to Jersey, I can go to Forsyth and I know it's gonna be
Yeah.
cool. And I know what the the fee is to get in and the
I
hours.
think we did a good job going to a lot of the hot spots while we were there too.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I don't think we went to a lot of places where, looking back, we should have gone somewhere else, because we did hit Forsyth, we hit Barnegat Lighthouse, we hit Cape May, we hit, well, Central Park, obviously, New York, different story, but I feel like we did a good job. Partially because of you guys, because I think you told us to go to Barnegat Lighthouse.
Can't believe you missed Great Cormorant there.
I don't want to talk about
Yeah, there was no great cormorants there.
See, he's got the smile again.
I know, look at him, he's enjoying it.
I know exactly what he's doing. I will talk to him when we lock up.
I feel as though we're gonna, hang up and you're just gonna look at him and be like, Otys, you had a bad performance on that podcast. But
I also want to
with your
say,
top 5 birds.
oh yeah, we got to do the birds. I do want to say also, Hoboken, it's embedded in my heart, in our heart. The birds we've seen here, we're very close now to 100 species for our city.
Oh, wow.
And that's really, really special for us. And so love birding here as well.
We got to tell you guys about a pizza place we went to in Ohio that actually is New York style, and they apparently have the same filtration system as like the New York water or something.
They wanted their water to be
like
the
that.
same as the Adirondack water.
Oh,
so
wow.
They had a special filtration system to try to achieve that quality.
Yeah, it was called the Stubborn Brother. It's on like the Toledo campus. It was phenomenal.
Absolutely
really
delicious.
good.
So if you come to the biggest week in American birding ever in Ohio, you need to go to Toledo to Stubborn Brother Pizza.
We will be there. We will be there one of these days. What did you rank the pizza?
I think it was an 8.6 or something like that.
I don't know. It was pretty good.
That's
great.
Delicious.
But I have to say that going back to Hoboken, one of the coolest sights I ever saw was when you two took us to that kind of overlook of the river, and you could see the complete skyline at night from the other side. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in terms of, cities and structures and things like that. So New Jersey had some good views, had some good sights.
Yeah, it was cool to just walk around and kind of be in that different vibe too, and feel the energy of like the city and everything. It was totally different than what we experienced
Completely
on a
different
daily
lifestyle,
basis.
100%.
Yeah.
I told him after, I said that was one of my favorite things to witness from the two of you, to kind of see that. And he said, I don't understand. It's just the city. And I said, oh, you don't understand. You don't understand. This is what you've grown up with. But not everyone who, has this in their backyard. It's just amazing. It's just amazing to see. And
it is funny, the cultural differences, because we were saying we don't have tolls, and Otys goes, what? You don't have tolls there? So
yeah, you could live a totally tollless life over here.
Toll-free.
What about having somebody else pump your gas?
That's a
true.
New Jersey thing.
That was
too.
the lady that told us about the South Dirty Jers.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah. And we had a whole experience with, there was some guy inside who was telling us that he does banding at Cape May or something, and he had like a different name tag on, and he was like, yeah, this is some employee that doesn't work here anymore. So he apparently wears his name tag when he's feeling a certain type of way.
Wild experience at this gas
yeah,
station.
like
what was
like
the gas
Walter or
station called?
something.
Yeah,
It was
the one.
It was a Wawa.
A Wawa, yeah, it was Wawa's gas station.
Are there Wawas out?
We ain't got no Wawas here.
No Wawas. That's a good birding spot too. I don't know if many. Yeah, so go ahead and tell the story about Wawa, the logo, and the sound.
Wawa, I was told by one of my camp counselors at Delaware that it's named after the snow goose, the sound it makes.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like wah.
Interesting.
Even though the logo is a Canada goose.
Oh,
they tried their best, probably.
Yes.
Appreciate that, Bert. All right, guys, top 5 birds.
Top 5 Jersey birds. Go for it, man. This is such a tough question. Well, I think you said once before the Brant.
Yeah, one, right? I didn't really realize how special that was until you said that. Like, this is the only place I've seen so many.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very much an East Coast species.
Other birds that are treasured for Jersey.
The Swainson's Warbler.
It used to be.
Well,
It was.
maybe like what about like purple sandpiper? It was neat to see a lot of purple sandpipers.
Yeah,
Big flock. Cool.
there's a lot of them in the winter, and they're cool to see on the rocks.
Yeah, this is an interesting question because I think when we think of so many of our birds, you know, we have been lucky to be able to travel to other states. I guess, you know, one of the common birds that comes to mind is the Canada goose, right? That New Jersey has a lot of these Canada geese, and I guess they're all over the continent now, but we have a big population, and I always tell people, you know, if you so, and you know, they look similar to the Brants, obviously, but if you hadn't seen a Canada goose once before and then you saw it, you would be in awe. It kind of looks like a dinosaur. It's a real beautiful bird.
It'll hiss at you.
Yeah, yeah. Others?
I think salt marsh sparrow has to be one of them.
Yeah,
that is a pretty
Forsyth has one of the
specialty.
highest concentrations of salt marsh sparrows.
There you go.
a big endangered species.
That's a cool one.
What about golden? I think
Oh,
another one is golden wing warbler.
Did they breed out there?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's,
probably then, yeah.
these power lines, and they breed there.
I
That's
think,
cool.
aren't they threatened, severely declining?
yeah. Yeah. Watched very closely. So PSENG has a lot of power line cuts, and we know a few people who, you know, are closely monitoring just because so many birds hybridize.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Yep. So I guess that would be we're close then, right? Salt marsh, Brant. We're gonna get rid of Canada goose. That was
That's a good idea.
disappointment on my part. Leave a comment for Mr. Train, I'm sure. And then the golden wing, and then purple sandpiper.
Yeah.
Probably
and
some
then,
ocean bird.
What are you choosing for number 5?
You could probably put something. Well, I mean, for me, I would think like great cormorant, but it's probably just because I've never seen one. But you could put something in.
By the way, it's a beautiful bird.
Great. Thanks, Otis. You could put something in there like Harlequin duck or
Otis
dildo.
wouldn't know.
Yeah.
How about Prothonotary warbler?
Sure,
Prothonotary warbler.
Yeah.
Do they breed there?
Yeah, there's a lot of them in the south.
Okay.
South.
We'll have to check you on that list at some point. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, I can tell this question kind of exposes like my understanding of the ranges of birds, right? I guess I don't think of them as kind of New Jersey birds, and I don't study as well. I study the individual species itself, the characteristics, but I don't think about it in terms of like, this is like a prized New Jersey bird. He does a little bit more of that more than me.
Yeah, we did a bird trivia at Biggest Week, and one of the categories, they just have eBird range maps, and you got to try to guess which species it is. And that's way harder than you would think, because you got to know not just the distribution like in your state, but then throughout the rest of the country.
Yeah, we did a video about the top 5 birds to find in Wisconsin, and I feel as though we did a good job narrowing down that list. So the criteria was kind of stuff that is hard to find anywhere else and has the highest concentration in Wisconsin, or a population that you can't really find anywhere else in the Midwest. So we had snowy owl, greater prairie chicken, Connecticut warbler, Kirtland's warbler, and then whooping crane were our 5.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Kirtland's, yeah, that's we talked about that. We definitely want to make our way up there to visit you and to see that special bird.
The cool species for sure. They're just so specific. They're so habitat specific that hard to believe they're still going. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Well, that's a story too. People working hard for that bird in multiple places. Yeah. And then Connecticut warbler is a major nemesis for me. It's it kind of
you.
Well, what's that?
Just for you, not Otis.
Oh
no, me too.
Oh, okay.
It's a beautiful bird.
It's probably
You know
the
what else
best
is
bird,
beautiful,
Otis.
Ryan Swainson's warbler is a beautiful bird.
Ooh,
He's
it's
targeting
drab.
you.
It's a drab bird, Otis. Unlike the beautiful Connecticut with a bold, striking white eye ring.
We asked one of our friends what the top 5 most beautiful warblers were, and he put Connecticut in there. And I think he was solely basing it off rarity because Ryan was like, "You like Nashville warblers? Nashville warbler pretty." It's basically just like a Nashville with a bigger eye ring that walks on the ground.
Otis, you got to be nice too, because if you come here and want to see Connecticut warblers, or, you want to see Kirtland's warblers, and you don't know where they are, whoever was guiding you could choose to go to a place where they may not be on that.
Why
day.
are we at the dump looking for Kirtland's warbler? I promise they're here.
I feel like we've been driving for 6 hours in the wrong direction.
Why are we back in New Jersey? What's your guys' top New Jersey pizza place?
Ooh,
Yeah, stuff.
we only really eat in Hoboken.
So
Top Hoboken pizza place.
give me a sec here.
Okay.
You know,
you guys can have a conference if you want.
Yes. So
Let's have a conference.
Yeah.
They're getting serious.
They turned the mic off.
I know. Oh, they're ready.
Yeah. All right, there he goes. All right, he's gonna share one, and then I'm gonna share one.
Okay.
I think it's Grimaldi is the place that we took you to.
That was very good. Perfect for after like a long day of birding.
And we didn't take you to this one, but 10th Street Pizza on Willow. They have got a square pie that is unbelievable. Love it. Just delicious.
I'm a fan of the square pie.
Just being in the Northeast, it felt like pizza was so much more a part of the culture. Like they call them pies. Everyone knew a spot. Like it was really cool to, be part of that and try some different places.
There's just, there's an endless amount of pizza. And then New York City, right across the river, there's just so many amazing spots. It was fun kind of bringing you around and just having those conversations about pizza and birds and kind of seeing you guys enjoy it. We'll have to do it again. We want you to come back out and see some other spots.
We just got to avoid the tolls. And then we'll be fine.
I will give you my easy pass.
Oh, that's sold then. We'll have to come and visit Cape May during migration sometime, probably.
Yeah.
Have to get that great cormorant, Otis.
What do you say?
Well, cool. Anything else from you guys before we sign off?
Anything else we want to talk about? We've covered so much ground.
Yeah.
You got to go back to Puerto Rico to get the toady, don't you?
Yeah, we didn't really explore the rainforest that much, so I missed out on Puerto Rican bullfinch, which I was really hoping for.
Heard it's beautiful.
We are heading out. I'm sorry, I missed that one. My bad. What you've seen that?
No.
Yes.
No.
But I'm sure it's gorgeous.
Yes. We're heading out to. So Otys doing a Colorado birding camp next week, and then the family is going out, and we're going to actually be in an RV, and it's we'll let eBird kind of guide us along and explore some places. So we're really excited for that.
That's awesome.
It'd be a bummer if somebody confused D-Bird and E-Bird. They were like, yeah, it showed on D-Bird. There's all these hermit throws.
Very sad. Yes. Have either of you been out there birding?
Not birding to Colorado. We visited before we were interested in birding by a couple years, actually. But it's a place we definitely want to go back to.
Yeah.
I think that some of the best stuff to get would probably be the grouse and other game birds out there, I would think.
Yeah.
Probably some of the prairie stuff, too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we're really hoping for the Gunnison's sage grouse. So see what we can do. It's going to be a hard bird to find, but we'll see if we can find it.
Somebody knows where they are out there.
Yep.
Just got to find that person.
Yes. Yeah, it's a person. It's a birder. You're basically birding for a birder who can help you.
You got to just cast a line with the.
You got to go to places where they would be. Find a Wild Birds Unlimited. Find a dump somewhere.
Yes.
Just, anything about this grouse I want to find? Yeah. Well, cool, guys. Thanks. It was great catching up with you and, talking about some of the conservation stuff and, where you guys are and some of the things you've been doing as well. So,
Likewise.
Jeff, where can people find, because you do some kind of, educational stuff online too. Where can people find that?
So, on Instagram, Mr. Train _, and then Mr. Train at mrtrain.org. mrtrain.org is a website that kind of has some of my videos and things like that. It'll take you to YouTube and all that jazz.
Cool. Sounds great. Well, thanks, guys. And thanks, everyone, for watching this episode of the Badgerland Birding Podcast.